Now this is one ugly slipbox cover. I mean, look at this. I don't know who thought this was a good idea. I mean, this is so ridiculous. I've seen some people online who had a stack of like Vinegar Syndrome's like releases for this month with all the bells and whistles, but for this particular movie, they only got the standard edition, and I almost did that myself. And the only reason I bought this ugly slipbox cover is because the slip cover inside of this looks pretty good, and that's you wouldn't get the slip cover with the release. Now, I've never seen this film before. I've seen it now, of course, but I'd never seen it before buying it, and I've heard really bad things about this. This is a 1998 comedy film starring Norm Macdonald, directed by Bob Saget. Now, this was Norm Macdonald's only starring film, and unfortunately, I think it didn't do him any favors, and he wasn't able to really star in any other shit after this because it bombed at the box office. It didn't do well. But the reason I bought it is because they have a dirtier, what's called the dirtier cut on here, and they did a lot of work for this particular release. And I was thinking, okay, I'm going to check this thing out. But in this video, I'm going to talk about my reactions to the film, and we're going to show you this packaging, and I'm going to talk about that 4K transfer a little bit. I'm Dave Watkins, Watkins Films. If you haven't done so already, if you would like this video. All right, so again, let's look at this thing here. Now, look. Now, this hairy chest thing is a gag that happens briefly in the film, and it doesn't really have anything to do with the movie that much. On the back, it says, "It's sick, it's dirty, it's their job," with some super glue and scissors and a razor, and some. This is all done with hair, and But anyway, I almost think that this type of cover, they may have gotten a kick out of it. Norm Macdonald and Bob Saget might have gotten a kick out of how ridiculously bad this cover is. They may have actually thought that was funny. Now, the film itself does have a lot of crude and juvenile humor in it. Some of it's funny. Some of the jokes don't land very good. Some of them are just, especially there's some sexual jokes. There's often some sexual jokes that lean in a way that are almost like kind of disgusting, and they're even grosser in the dirtier cut. I don't know if it helps it. It may help it be more edgy in general, but I don't know if that necessarily does help it. Now, as far as the plot of this thing, Norm Macdonald and his friend, they ever since they were in school, they've done these gags to people. They would do revenge plots. They trick people and things of that nature, and they would often like do things like really immature things. Stuff I probably did when I was in school, and the stuff I did do when I was in school, it was pretty ridiculous. But as an adult, they actually, people will start a business where people hire them to do these revenge things. Like one's like to get these people out of their house. And I guess the guy doesn't like his neighbors, or they're annoying him, so they go in and they put fish inside. See this right here. Here's the inside slipcover, which I like better. He's holding these two fish. They would go in and put fish all in these people's house and to try to run them out. And most often in this film, those gags kind of backfire on them. But yeah, and here's the back of that. I do like the slipcover a lot better than the actual slip box. It's definitely better. Now, I watched the dirtier cut first, and I kind of flipped through parts of the other one, so I'm not sure. I didn't see anything too crazy different. I think a lot of it has to do with sexual gags. I know there's one part in particular. Now, this is part of this. So they get put in jail, and they're sitting there, and then he starts talking about like anal rape and getting anal raped in jail. And in the dirtier cut, he says anal rape, but in the original cut, he doesn't actually say those words. He says like that other thing or something like that. But it actually kind of works a little bit better when it's subtler, because he comes in and he's like, you don't want to get into that other thing. But in the dirtier cut, he just comes in like really loud talking about it, and it's just like too loud. It's not too. It's a little on the head for me. And then right after that, these guys walk up to him and they're like, all right, let's go. And they take Norm Macdonald, and apparently they take him off screen, and they apparently rape him off screen. And he comes back in and he's like, He's like, I have a good mind to go to the warden about this. He's like, it just kind of hurts my feelings more than anything else, and it hurts almost as bad as that other thing. But in the dirtier, he's like, it hurts almost as bad as anal rape. So that's like, and that's like one of the things that maybe made it a little more edgy. But I don't know. I mean, so let's take a look at this rest of these contents. The only other thing in here, other than the disc itself, there's a booklet with some information in here. There's Norm Macdonald on the front. There's a now his humor is very dry. I do feel, even in his supporting roles, he did a lot of voiceover work after this, but he didn't get a lot of even big supporting roles in these comedy films. Like he's a funny guy. He was a funny guy. Unfortunately, he's not alive anymore. But he was a funny guy, and he's just as funny as like those other guys like Adam Sandler and Will Ferrell and things. But something, I think he just kind of, he may have been a little in over his head here, and it may have been like his humor translated, but it was probably a little overwhelming for him to do the lead of this movie and have to be in so many scenes. And so sometimes it kind of feels a little. It feels a little stilted. Some of it feels a little stilted to me, but I think that he should have had more supporting roles going forward than this, and maybe even another shake at a starring role. Because if you see his other material, he was a very funny guy. And so this book mostly has essays in it with some pictures and things of that nature. So let's take a look at the disc here, and then I'm going to read to you about the 4K transfer, and then I'm going to talk about it a little bit. How about that? So there's 3 discs. This is a Blu-ray of the film, and there's also a disc with just extras on it, and there's a 4K of the film. So you got 3 discs in here. And here's the original cover art for the film, which I never cared for this much. I always thought it looked very like, I don't really want to see that. That was my thought when I saw that. It doesn't look very appealing to me. And there is a reverse here with the new cover art with the fish, them holding the fish and all that. Luckily not the cover art for the slip box. So let's take a read of the specs here about the 4K transfer. It says 4K UHD disc contains both the 82-minute PG-13 theatrical cut and the 83-minute director cut of Dirty Work, presented in Dolby Vision HDR and newly scanned and restored from its 35mm original camera negative with the following sound mix: 5.1 surround sound, 2.0 stereo mix, and there's a commentary track. The Blu-ray disc contains everything, the UHD disc, plus the following special features. Plus it's got a bunch of special features and so forth on it. Now, something that must be said about this, it says they're both only like a minute difference, but really there's 7 minutes difference. Now, both of these cuts have some scenes that the other ones don't have. Like, for instance, on the theatrical version, there is a scene with a bearded lady in there that she's like someone hires them to shave her beard off, which gets her pretty good. But that's only in the theatrical cut. It's not in the dirtier cut. So they're basically, there's 7 unique minutes in each version of these films that are different than the others. So that's something to think about, and that's something that's very interesting. And they went through a very big process to get the dirtier cut scenes. So that was what kind of drew me to get this. It is and the 4K transfer does look nice. It is. I've never seen it before, so I don't have another way to compare it. But I did compare these 2 versions to each other, and it looks nice. It's a very bright film. Typically, it's kind of a loony film, a kind of cartoonish like film. So it kind of fits the the brightness fits. As far as it is very filmic. It was shot on film, so throughout you do see that film grain. It's nicely resolved. It's not scrubbed. It's there, and it's fairly clean for the most part. Even though you do see the film grain, the contrast levels look really nice. There's nice saturation throughout the film. So in their close-ups, you do see a lot of details in their faces. That's what you want to see in this 4K transfer. It all looks fairly clean. You don't see a lot of out of focus or soft focus in these scenes. So it was shot fairly competently, and the black levels are. You do see nice details in the black levels. Now, it's not a lot of dark scenes here, but there's still going to be black levels, and it's no black crush. The detail levels are still there. Now, overall, this is a very well done 4K restoration, and it is newly scanned from the 35mm negative, so it is for that 4K transfer alone, this is definitely worth it. Now, one of the strongest things about this film is the supporting cast. They have a lot of great, some of them are cameos, some of them are in it a little bit more. Like Adam Sandler has a brief cameo, but then Chris Farley, and this is his last film, and he's not credited in the film, but he has a fairly major supporting part, and he's in it throughout the film. Another actor, Chevy Chase, plays their doctor, who is he's got like a gambling problem, but he has a fairly major supporting part in this as well. He's in it throughout the film. He's got lots of scenes, and it's good to see Chevy Chase. I actually am a fan of Chevy Chase. I think a lot of people don't like him because of his personal, like the way that he acts to people. He's kind of a dick apparently, but I've always been a fan of Chevy Chase, and I do like him in this film. It's more of a subtle type of performance than big. You know, Bob Saget, the director, it would be nice to see him in a role in here. He is a funny, or he was, unfortunately, he was a funny actor, and he could have played Chevy Chase's part. I bet maybe he was originally intending to do that, but they got Chevy Chase instead. Maybe, I don't know. That's just a speculation on my part. But of all the parts that he could have played, I would think that would have been a good one for Bob Saget to do, and he would have done good doing that part. I've seen him play some other edgy comedic parts before, and he did a really good job of that. Jack Warden gets second billing here, and he plays a fairly major supporting part of Norm Macdonald's friend's dad, who has a heart attack, and he has to have a transplant, and that's kind of like they're trying to get the money for that transplant. That's something kind of funny. That's just some dark humor stuff that's funny in this film, where in order to get his heart, like Chevy Chase is a doctor who's got a gambling problem, and he tells them if they get $50,000, he'll be able to he'll pull some strings and get the dad up higher on the list to get the heart. So that's some kind of dark humor that works pretty good. Artie Lang plays his friend, and him and Norm Macdonald bounce off of each other very well. And Christopher McDonald's in the film playing a villain, kind of like he does in Happy Gilmore, and he's very good at doing this. And he's kind of the main antagonist of the film. And he carries around this little dog, and there's a pretty off-color humor joke about them. They keep saying that he screws the dog or something, and at one point they say they thought he had his finger up the dog's butt. So I don't know. That's some of the humor I didn't care for, some parts like that. But some of the humor works, and some of it I think is a little much. It also has Don Rickles in it in a pretty awesome roasting scene. He walks through this line of people, and he's roasting them, and Don Rickles was fantastic in this. Also, Gary Coleman has a small cameo in 2 dream sequences. Gary Coleman was in Different Strokes. He played Arnold, and he's like, "What you talking about, Willis?" All right, let's go ahead and rate Dirty Work on a scale from 1 to 5. 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. Now, before I do that, I do want to qualify something else. I've seen some people online say that this is the best release of the year, and I've seen some people online saying this movie is trash, I would never buy it. Now, personally, I kind of fall in the middle of that whole thing. I'm going to give Dirty Work 3 stars, the film itself. I'm going to give it a 3-star rating. I did think it was kind of funny. It wasn't as funny as it probably should have been. It was nice to see all these actors in this film. Some of them in very peak form, and most of them in fairly peak form. It was nice to see them in this film. This is a 1998 film. Now, as far as what Vinegar Syndrome has delivered here, I'm tempted to give them a lower rating just because of how ugly this cover is. And we all know it's friggin' ugly. I don't think anybody likes this cover, but I'm going to give them a 4-star rating for what they've done, especially with the slipcover and also with the 4K transfer and the dirtier cut of the film. They did do a lot of work with the film and the extras and stuff to that nature on here. So I do like what they've done, other than the cover. But anyway, I do have another Vinegar Syndrome release I would like for you to take a look at. You see this right here. This is The Golden Child starring Eddie Murphy, and I recently did a review of that. I would like for you to go check that thing out. And if you would go ahead and like this video, I'm Dave Watkins, Watkins Films. Thanks for watching.